Sagittarius Collective, welcome, welcome. I'm Nikki, your local vegan terrorist. All right, so we're going to read for the truth about your connection. We're going to read about the truth about your connection, and then we'll read for the masculine and feminine, ways in which, advice, maybe some blockages, or what might help bring this connection together, right? So let's see. What's the truth about this love connection that Sagittarius is currently dealing with? Ooh. Queen of Pentacles, could be dealing with a feminine earth sign. Strength, could be dealing with a Leo. You or your person could have strong Leo placements. But the Queen of Pentacles is feminine energy that knows their value. So this is not going to be something that the value of the individuals are going to be questioned. This is someone who is willing to choose themselves because they know their value, and this could be both parties. It is a feminine depicted here. We have the Two of Swords, and the Two of Swords in this deck always looks like they're flipping it off. The Two of Swords is a choice that you don't see coming, a decision that you could be avoiding. But this is someone flipping that off like, it's not even a decision. Like this isn't even like A or B. This is just C. And C is my favorite word. Maybe the letter C is important here. Capricorn, Cancer. But there is, these swords kind of look like they're going in opposite directions. Like they're going to be going in a V away from each other. V could represent Virgo. It could also represent 5, and it can also represent Venus, which is the planet for love. So your Venus placement could be important here. But in this case, this isn't them going away from each other. This is them coming together, which is a C for a cross. But my favorite word is C, because when you say it, it could mean I see you. Or it could mean sea, like the ocean. So that could be important here as well, because it's two sides of something. I would say two signs, but two sides of something that essentially mean the same thing, right? So this could be like your polarity sign, right, which would be Gemini. Your polarity sign being Gemini also represents the lovers. So this is like something about crossing paths. A cross could be important. You could have met through some sort of church or some sort of like ceremonious event or some sort of spiritual practice. Could have been like at a drum circle. Could have been doing some sort of travels on some sort of mission. Maybe your spirituality is woven into the work that you do, and you might meet in work, right? But a cross represents hope, right? It also represents laying all of your sins to rest. So this is going to be a very judgment-free connection. You are sin-free when you come into this connection, right? Obviously that doesn't give you the opening to just commit sin left and right? And what are sins in a relationship, right? That would be like infidelity, breaking loyalty, breaking trust, being dishonest, anything like that. This is going to be a very truthful, authentic, deep connection, because the sea is very deep and mysterious and all of those. Great, wonderful things, but it's also quite terrifying. So we'll look into that a little bit more, but I don't feel like there's anything terrifying about this, because it looks strong. I mean, there's a lot of fixed energy here with the Earth, the Queen of Pentacles, and the fixed sign of Leo. So it's there's a lot of passion there, right? There's a lot of passion there, but it's all grounded in something that's very compatible and will stand the test of time. Knight of Wands, right? That is Sagittarius energy. But see, even this Sagittarius, or this Knight of Wands, looks very stoic, very calm. I feel very calm about this love. It doesn't feel... Yeah, I think this is like saying goodbye to anything that's confusing. This love is not confusing. It's not like, what unseen decision, what shoe is going to drop next? What's the next thing that's going to happen? You know, waiting for the axe to fall. That's the one. Waiting for the axe to fall. And then we have the Ace of Wands. So it's very new, but there's a lot of Leo energy here with the Sun. The masculine in this feels like they're leading, which brings a lot of comfort to this feminine, because this is a feminine who knows their value and is very strong and is a queen and very much in their placements. This is someone who feels very fixed, but not in a stubborn way. This is a feminine who wants to submit, right? A true feminine will submit to a masculine that is capable of leading them, right? There's a trust. There's something about maybe like a trust fund, or like a trust, but you can trust this love. So this is saying goodbye to anything that you couldn't trust before, that was unpredictable, that was confusing, that was always like this or that. This love feels very centered. All right, so let's see with the masculine, because the masculine's represented quite strong here with the strength as being a leader. And this feminine, it seems ready to be led by this masculine. So let's see what's going on here. Okay, so we have the Hierophant and the Eight of Swords. Okay, so the masculine looks like they're viewing this as, there's a lot of anxiety around this. Why is there anxiety around the Hierophant? There's sleepless nights and anxiety, and a feminine who is the opposite of what I just said in this depiction. This feminine is bound and doesn't see something coming. So let's clarify for the feminine, because that's interesting, because that is the opposite of this love, which means maybe this masculine is in an energy of not wanting to commit, because that's what the Queen of Pentacles is going to want, and that's definitely what a Taurus is going to want, represented by the Hierophant. So okay, Knight of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands was flipped over. So this is a slow, so maybe this is a masculine, the Sagittarius energy here as the Knight of Wands in this deck flipped over, and the Knight of Pentacles in the upright. It tells me that this is moving very slowly, which is what you want with an investment. You don't want to just make rash decisions. So now that Two of Swords with the person flipping it off could be somebody's not making a decision. And the feminine is willing to follow, but the masculine has to come in with action. That's what the Knight of Wands is. It's all action. Knight of Pentacles, not so much. This is a very solid commitment behind this inactive masculine. This masculine's not, seems like they're not really making any moves for some reason. Now I said the Hatchet, so I'm going to pull from the Native American Tarot to see, because the swords are represented by hatchets in this. Oh, shit. Okay, Ace of Cups in the reverse. 5 of Cups, Warrior Woman. And 3 of Cups. Is there a third party in this situation? Trail of Tears. That's the 7 of Pentacles. This is like, this feminine feels, ooh, this feminine feels like they put a masculine in their place by just staying in their power. Eight of Cups, the Stars, and the Warrior of Blades. It's like this masculine in the Warrior of Blades, the Knight of Swords, is like hiding on their horse. And it's almost like it feels like a last call. One last call for alcohol. So with all the cups and the Ace of Cups in reverse and the Eight of Cups, Five of Cups, drinking could be an issue here. Could be some substance overuse, or, depression, sadness, fear, emotional apprehension. That's keeping this masculine from bringing in their vessel of cups, because they're sort of in this indolence. They're over here. And the Eight of Cups, which is someone who's willing to choose themselves, but this person's just kind of like not choosing anything. And then we do have the Taurus here, which in this reading represents the Hierophant, that marriage, that commitment. And also translator. I mean, that's what the Hierophant is. It is the spiritual leader. And it's also the four-dimensional being that translates from the 5D to the 3D. That's why they're a spiritual leader. They take messages that otherwise would be misunderstood or overlooked, and they make them digestible in the 3D. Somebody could be like love to cook here. If you are dealing with a Taurus, just do that, homie. You don't have to profess your love. Just cook this feminine a meal. They'll be all right. But yeah, this is like this masculine doesn't seem like they're really acknowledging this bull. The bull's like, I'm right here. And there's sort of the masculine, or the feminine, represented by the bull, is like very similar to this being trapped, being like corralled. I mean, they're wrapped, almost like mummified, but it's not a full mummy, which means that there hasn't been a death or an ending in this situation. It's just sort of in limbo. How low can you go? Ooh, what did somebody do here? Because we've got this Five of Cups, this warrior woman. It's like, this is a feminine who's bearing all, but they're operating like a Queen of Swords here with this knife. So they are open. Their chest is wide open. They've already said, this feminine has already said everything they need to say. They know their value. They know what they want. They've said that. I feel like this feminine has expressed it or will express it. And if you're already dealing with this connection, then the masculine has not brought in the corn dance, Three of Cups, which is a date, a celebration. There's a fear of celebration. This isn't even a wallflower, this masculine here. They're not just sitting on the wall. They're not just introverted. This is someone who's being antisocial. There's a difference between being introverted and antisocial. This is someone who's like, and they've got that bottle there. That bottle, they're hitting the bottle and they're just sitting there like a bum. I was gonna say like a hobo or a homeless person. And that's because this feminine is their home. That's what a Queen of Pentacles is. A Queen of Pentacles is a home. It is a resting place. It is earth. And then the Stars is healing. This masculine might be afraid that they pulled some shit, and if they come back, because this feels like a connection and separation, that they're going to come back and this feminine, like a spider, like a female spider, is going to bite their head off. it's like they're here. They've got their knife. Like, they may have some cutting words to say. So masculine, if you fucked up, you better be accountable for that. So, you better think out your apology. Quit drowning your sorrows with alcohol if that's what you're doing, or just being in this sort of like pity party. This is like a country song. My woman took my dog and she left me. No, she didn't. She's right here. She's still like trapped in this love. Which if I were just speaking to someone who, a feminine who expressed feeling like they were trapped in love, I'd be like, get the fuck out of there. 8 of Cups is choosing yourself. And maybe that's what needs to happen here. Which I think is what happened here, because we've got this Queen of Pentacles clarified by the Hierophant. The feminine said, you know what, I know my value. I'm out of here. Look how free they are. I've got me. I will always choose myself, because this is what I want. I want commitment. I want clarity. I want a reason to celebrate. This is a feminine who's ready to celebrate this love. Chariot. And the High Priestess. We're going to do a little shuffle here. Let's do a little shuffle. I feel like somebody's moving something around. King of Wands. Could be the masculine. Could be dealing with someone with strong Pisces placements. You could have strong Pisces placements again. 10 of Pentacles in the fucking world. And the 3 of Pentacles. Okay. Cool. This masculine wants it too. This isn't a toxic masculine. This is a masculine who had a very low self-worth. And with the alcohol, I feel like they could be someone who was the life of the party. This feminine saw through that. They expressed that they wanted more. The masculine didn't feel like they were worthy of giving more because they didn't know their own value. This feminine choosing themselves has created a recollection. What is that? From Tombstone, where Doc Holliday's saying he's here for, he's not out for revenge, it's a reckoning. Doesn't he say the reckoning? That's a good song by Asaf Avidian, Reckoning song. One day maybe we'll be old, oh maybe we'll be old and think of all the stories that we could have told. Ten of Pentacles is growing old together. There's a lot of Pentacles here. There's a lot of earth and fixed energy here, which for a Sagittarius can be very challenging, because Sagittarians are very curious about a lot of different things, a lot of different interests, and they're very fast. They are all action. But they are mutable. So if this Sagittarius can, or if you're a masculine dealing with the Sagittarius, that might be a conflict. You're thinking, I don't know if I am up to snuff to, fulfill somebody who has so much going on and has so many interests. Like, maybe I'm not that interesting. This is a masculine feels like they have they've done a lot of work. This love has been the prompt, the divine prompt and tower in their life to make them realize. And so the feminine kind of led this connection by choosing themselves and walking away from this and breaking out of that corral. Because otherwise, what do you do in a corral? You just go around and around and around. And if you don't choose yourself and you don't set the example of what a person who values themselves does, like, I will always be willing to choose myself over you. You want to be with a partner who is willing to choose themselves. You want a person who loves being alone. I was just talking about that, like with infidelity, and if a husband or a partner is, has a coworker and if y'all have been following me for a while, you know I do not believe men and women can be friends, platonic friends, without some sort of condition, right? Like, you work together, but you're not going to lunch together, right? You're not taking your lunch breaks together. You need to be okay taking your lunch break alone, right? This masculine may have really fed on feedback and admiration and adoration of others to give them a value, to give them some sort of to feed their ego. The devil, yeah, they were attached to strength. They were attached to the idea of, like, that makes me important, you know? But they didn't think that they were important. They never felt like they were important. Not enough to choose themselves. Not enough to be alone. It's like this masculine didn't even like themselves. But because this feminine came in and said, you know what, I love you, but I'm going to choose me. I love you, but I love me more. That was like, oh, that's what love looks like. That's unconditional love. Unconditional love is not just putting up with people's bullshit and letting them operate out of their lower self. Temperance. There you are, Sagittarius, with the Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles is all about independence. This is a feminine who showed this masculine how to be independent. And that seems counterintuitive, right? It seems like a contradiction in terms. To be independent, you need to be independent in love. You're thinking, oh, but all this, it feels like all this masculine has ever known in love is attachments with the devil, attachment disorders. If I corral my feminines, or if I am only in this one way of presenting myself, I know how to present myself so that I get the admiration or adoration. 22:22 on the clock there. Which is like two doorways opening, right? Two 11:11s opening so that these two can come together. So this was not just like this feminine had it all figured out. This feminine attracted this masculine who had a low self-worth because there was part of them that had a low self-worth. So the challenge in this twin flame connection is that the feminine had this coming together was the Tower. So the feminine was forced to choose themselves, right? Because I don't think this feminine had ever chosen themselves. They probably just were in a series of corral relationships and connections and projects and whatever, and nothing ever went anywhere because they were just going around and around and around looking for a way out, looking for someone to open the door, looking for someone to do the work for them. They had to bust through that corral, or do some squats so that they could jump. Just imagine like a bull doing squats. And remembering, oh yeah, I'm a fucking bull. That little piddly ass 2x4 is not going to stop me. And they had to bust through there. And that the idea of being trapped in something, being corralled in something, is an illusion, right? You're not trapped. You think you're trapped. So this feminine had to break out of their own box so that this masculine could go, oh, that's what it looks like. And that's what I want. There's something very attractive about this feminine choosing themselves over the masculine. Because in a twin flame connection, as cycle breakers, you don't want someone to put up with your lower self. Unconditional love is a person calling you to be your highest self. They tell you the hard truths. They ask the uncomfortable questions. They will give the advice that you do not want to hear, but you need to hear, because it's the tough love. And something about this connection was opened a door for both of you. It put you into a higher echelon. And in the medical field, it's called a higher echelon of care. There's like trauma, right? You just do the bare minimum, like to just keep them alive, and then you get them to the next place. You just stop the bleeding. Then they move up to another higher echelon of care where there's more resources and where they can really look into what's going on here. And so something about that, you could be in the medical field or have been in the military, but there's something about that sort of, like every other relationship, it was like you were just stopping the bleeding, but it was like internal bleeding, which means you were still losing blood, but it was all internalized. And maybe that's how you've always dealt with trauma in your life, or bad relationships, toxic connections, and that attachment is you just internalize it, which is very much like what we do when we just drink, right? We're just damaging ourselves. We're just depressing ourselves. And it all starts as like, oh, I'm the life of the party with a couple drinks, but then a couple drinks turns into, I'm not just drinking out with friends, having a drink or two to celebrate, glasses clinking together. Now I'm at home by myself, drinking myself to sleep, not getting good sleep, feeling disconnected from my emotions. And anyone who's gone through, so maybe somebody's gone through a period of sobriety, all those emotions start coming up. So when you have to deal with them, it's very revealing, right? Like if you throw up after a night of blackout drinking, you're like, oh, that's what I ate. Well, when you get sober and you start to you're regurgitating all of those emotions that you repressed and that you internalized, you're looking at them like, oh, that's what that was. Oh, that's what I did there. Oh, why did I eat that? I know I'm allergic to that, or I know that's never settles well, or something like that. It's kind of like that analogy, I guess. Hopefully that resonates or means something to somebody. But in this case, this tower, which I'm surprised that the tower didn't come out, which tells me that it's not in the present energy. The tower feels like this already happened and the healing has taken place, and that's why this love was put on hold. So coming together now, the love that you've done all this work for is what initially was pulled. It's two people who are very strong. This is someone who's built up their strength and their willingness to choose themselves, their willingness to live in solitude, because they actually like themselves now. They love themselves now. They take care of themselves. They understand their value system. So when you have two people like that, that's a good time, because neither one of you are leeching off the other or relying on the other to do the thing or do the work or make you feel any sort of way. Your feelings are your own. You have full autonomy over those emotions. And only when you have full autonomy over your emotions are you willing to express what you need and what you like to do. And someone who's willing to choose solitude or independence and to be single. So this feels like you two have been single for a while before coming into this. So you're not going to be coming in, you're not going to be bringing in any of this like past tragedy energy. I think that you already experienced that in your tower moment coming together. If you haven't met this person, just know that you may come together and there may still be work to be done. You know what timeline you're on, but according to the reading in this collective energy that I'm tapped into, I feel like that process has already been done, and that's why it took so long. With all the pentacles, it takes a long time. It takes months or years. It's very slow. It is the slowest moving energy because it lasts the longest. It is what you invest in, and it's gonna be so worth it. It's worth the wait. It's worth the time that it's taken for you to do this. Like, I feel like when you come together, the time will just sort of disappear, and it will just feel like, okay, this was worth it. And I think you're both, I said you all, you're both gonna know. There could be people around you that have been watching this, like, when are they going to get it together? They're obviously meant to be together. They're perfect for each other, Why aren't they doing this? But the individuals had to learn to choose themselves, and to give themselves the utmost care with or without another person there to witness the work that they're doing or to give them validation. They had to self-validate. which is it's a big challenge. So kudos to those of you who feel like, yes, I actually do love and like myself now. So you can confirm that in the comments. I love myself. I choose myself. And that's not saying I want to be single, I don't want love. That's saying I am me. I am unconditional love with or without anybody else. So then that way, when you invite somebody else into your space, and this is why you want someone who chooses themselves, who's okay being in solitude or independent, is because when they invite you into their space, you know they're choosing you because you add to that, not they need something from you. They don't need anything from you. They just enjoy being around you. They just choose to spend their time with you. And that feels very compatible. You're very compatible in that, where you essentially want the same thing. So maybe you have, again, you may have like a Venus placement. You may share a Venus placement or moon placement or something like that, where it is how you give and receive emotions is very similar, which is why it's going to be so triggering, or why it was so triggering when you first connected. So hopefully there was something in here for you. And until next time, Sagittarius, I wish you well.